So hello you guys, today's Friday. I have a small technical win that I want to share with you before we get started. I have finally figured out how to remove the clicking sound of my camera. I bought my camera 4 years ago during the beginning of the pandemic from this guy who needed money from during that time. It was kind of like a sketch time, obviously, for everybody, and this I think was before the stimulus checks. So he was selling his Mark II G7X Canon camera for a pretty reasonable price at that point, and I bought it. I was super excited that I could finally make higher quality videos. And I'd taken some time off of my old channel, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna be a real vlogger now. Everybody had this camera, so I get this camera and it has this clicking sound, and I just thought it was broken. I was like, you know what, leave it to me to find the one person who's not very honest on eBay, and I'm shelling out still $400 or $500 for this camera, but it's used, I'm still saving some money, and I was like, oh, what did I do? So I just kind of dealt with it and just kind of hoped that nobody would really complain. And you guys never did complain. You were never what's that noise? But whenever I would edit back my stuff, I was like, oh no, this is really bad. So I tried to Google how to fix it at that point, and there was no logical solutions that I could find at that point 4 years ago. So I just kind of did my thing and just continued using it as best as I knew how. Well, recently I'd needed to upgrade the sound, and it was not passable anymore that I just have this sound in my videos. So I was trying a few different things, and one of them was an external mic. And long story short, you don't really care, but you can't really add an external mic to this particular camera because the internal bits of this camera are not compatible with an external mic. They made it affordable and they left that part out. So you have to use very complex things in order to add an external mic to this particular camera. So then I went back to the drawing board of okay, let's just try to fix this freaking problem then. What could it be? Do I need to take apart my camera? I tried to look and see if I could buy another G7X, but they're $1,500 now. I was like, how the hell did that happen, right? Okay, so let's go back and try to fix the problem and use what we have, but fix it. So I Googled one more time in YouTube. I put it into the search. Canon G7X clicking sound, because that's what it sounds like to me. And all of a sudden up popped this video, and it was here's what the problem is, this is the solution, and good luck. And the solution was perfect, except for there was this one setting that her particular version of the G7X Mark II didn't do on mine, but the comments solved that problem. So I was like, yes, thank you YouTube. 4 years later, but thank you YouTube, just in the nick of time when I needed it to be kind of better quality. Here we go. So I can use what I have, and I'm hopefully going to have less clicking noises in my videos, and hopefully that will be an improved audio for you. So I'm still using the internal mic. I've just turned on a setting that focuses the lock, that locks the focus, and it stops the internal clicking. So if you have that problem because you have the Mark II G7X and you have that camera, I don't know if the Mark III does it or whatever, but the Mark II does it. So if you have that problem and you're interested in the solution, let me know, or just look in the comment box below, the description box, and I'll have that particular, that video linked for you if you're interested. So that was a win. I was like, yes, I saved all this money from having to buy a new camera, because I was like, oh, this camera is trash now. And I returned my external mics, and I did all this stuff, and I was just really happy. And now we're moving forward. So that was something that had been weighing in my brain somewhere in the little cobwebs of not being checked off as fixed. I could finally check off that long-term thing. I love that when that happens. It feels really good for me for some reason. It's very satisfying. So that was a small win that made it kind of just good for me. I've had some other things that were good this week and some other things that were just like kind of disappointing actually. So I guess we'll get into the disappointing so that we can end on something good. I'm not sure why we needed to do it in that order, but it just seems right as far as the delivery. So one of the pillars that I try to work on when I feel like everything is kind of out of control, and try to, like, the point is to try to get things back in control, like feeling as I perceive them, is like health is one of those things that I feel like I can influence a lot over, and I don't need a lot of help from the outside world in order to do that. Like, I can put myself to bed at a good time. I can stop eating at like 7 so that my digestive tract overnight doesn't work so hard that it's messing up how I sleep and like messing up like my stress levels as I sleep. And it's just like my stomach is as empty as possible before it goes to bed. And you know what I mean? Like, those are the things that I control. Like, other people don't do that for me. I do that for me. I can control what I eat. I can control when, and I can control like how well I do my self-care. I can control if I work out or not. Like, my exhaustion level is sometimes not within my control, but you know what I mean? Those are things I don't need outside people for. So like the things that I need outside people for my health is like getting a direction from an expert, like diagnosing a problem if there is a problem, like realizing that I need other outside tools other than just what I'm equipped with right now. That's the outside element, and that's where my frustration lies when it comes to things. So to add some context, I have been trying to discover if there is a massive problem with me, and I've been talking about this a lot in other videos. I talk a lot about my dating, and I talk about a lot, you know, about money, but like health is one of those big ones too that I really work on all the time, and it's kind of like exhausting to get like nowhere with it. So anyways, as I said, I'd just come from like a week or so of being kind of like distracted and out of focus, but wanting to get back into focus. So I reintroduced the things that I could control. And so I reworked on my health pillar, because that makes me feel like I can get moving again with my other things. So your health is such like an important foundation of you as a person. When you have health, you have wealth. There's a reason why people say that. So if I was to improve my health in any sort of capacity, in all the ways that you could improve health, like it would be beneficial for all the rest of the things I was working on. So I was trying to think systemically, like how can I improve my motivation? How can I improve my focus? How can I improve the longevity in which I work? And like my gusto of what I'm doing, like my, you know, my desire to do these things. If I'm super stressed, or I'm super tired and I have nothing left to give to these creative things that require a lot, or nothing left to give to these people if I'm trying to date them, nothing left to give to myself in like my goals for myself, I'm always trying to learn more things and just to improve my product here. I call myself my product to the world, or my product to myself. If I can't put any effort into improving my product, and I barely have enough effort to like maintain it, like myself as I am, that's not moving forward. That's like slowly slipping behind, right? And I'm trying not to do that. So that's why health is so important for me during a reset. And this isn't like rocket science here. It's just kind of like, this is what I feel like I should be doing with my priorities when it's pretty clear that I need to do something. So as I said, one of the ways that I could improve my health was to reintroduce all of my habits that I'd stopped doing. And it was kind of sad for me to realize like that I'd slipped so far from like my endurance and like what I could do in the gym and what I could do as far as going on walks. Like I went on walks every single day this week, mostly in the sun, and it was beautiful and it was lovely. and I was tired and I hurt and I got blisters again, right? Like I was past that. But if you take like 2 weeks off, it's like really, really sad. It's so sad how like fast your body slips back into like a state of rest. And there's all this breaking in point, and like there's all this like growth pain, and during that time where you're trying to readjust again to like what you used to do. So it's always like a new normal, and it's like an adjustment period. It's an adjustment period mentally too, because it's like, well, I used to do this and now it's hard for me and it really sucks and I hate this. And it feels like I've failed myself, but it's like, well, you've only failed yourself if you continue to like completely give up the whole time. Like it's just like this breaking in process that's painful, and it just sucks. So you just gotta get past the sucky part and get to like your new level of endurance, or your new level of fitness, and until it's like a little bit comfortable again. And then there's this whole period of like, you have to push yourself again. You can't just stay comfortable once you've gotten back into shape a little bit, right? So there's just always like this interesting ebb and flow of what's going on as far as training and resistance and like all kinds of stuff for your body. But when it comes to like the other parts of health that you can control besides like exercise and fitness, there's like retraining your stomach to like be full off of a certain amount of food and to like not overeat if you've gotten off the wagon on that part a little bit. So there's always like this uncomfortable period of like adjusting to like a normal sized person's amount of food, and to not, have the brain signals that you're hungry. So it's like going back to all the healthier habits that I've stopped. And so it's like, if I'm going to have an uncomfortable moment, I might as well just have them all out of the way right in the beginning consistently. So I try to implement all of my habits. I try to do, maybe I go to sleep at a better time, but like I go and I'm like not trained to like sleep at that nice good time for my body to have enough sleep in the morning. So when I wake up, so I'm not tired. I'm not conditioned to go to bed at that time, and so it's uncomfortable because you just kind of like lay there for a little bit until you've made that your routine. So everything is such a routine in order to get your habit to work well. And I understand why people fall off the wagon and like don't want to do this, because it's all uncomfortable. There's like not any part of getting healthier that is actually comfortable. I don't think it's supposed to be comfortable, but it's like, what I'm trying to say is I relate to you hardcore if you're like sick of how you are, but like it's just uncomfortable to get to where you want to be. I relate to you hard, because I don't want to do this. Like once it's established and once you're going, it's great. But once you've fallen off the wagon and you've decided mentally that you want to, it's just physically tough to get back to like some sort of healthier version of yourself. So anyways, I worked on a lot of like my health pillar this week. I went to the dentist and I finally got all of my cavities filled. So I have no cavities that are active right now, if you want to call it like that. So I'm in the steps and process of something that I'd never thought I would be able to do, and that's like change my smile. So it's like, I'm so excited to just get to the part where I've persevered over the crappiest parts. I've had root canals, I've had extractions, I've had wisdom teeth like removal, I've had countless fillings, I've had drill happen when like it hurts, like I can feel it and it's not numb. Like I've gone through all this pain with these dentists. I still have dental anxiety, but like I've gotten a little bit better just through going so much. And like I'm seeing the results of that, and I've gotten to the stage where I can finally work on the aesthetics of my smile, and I'm super, super happy about that, because it's going to affect how I am perceived by people and how I perceive myself. And I've lived this long with my crooked smile, but like, honestly, I would like really love it if I didn't have that and it was not an insecurity that I have when I open my mouth. If I open my mouth and people are like, ooh, you got some snarly teeth there, girl. Like, I know that, but like, it doesn't diminish like how, you know, intelligent I am or how beautiful I am, but it's like one of those things that people notice right off. And so if I can just fix that, and if it can be done in like, I don't know, a year or so, like I would love that. I think it would, like, I'm young enough still that it would be beneficial if I live a long time, right? Like the work that I put into it for like a year would still be so much nicer to like experience how it feels to have a nice smile and to like have that insecurity kind of go away. Like, it's just like a non-event anymore. If I open my mouth, I could smile for real. And like, I do smile for real now, but I'm like, in my like dating profile, I'm like a little bit like, you know, like I hate getting pictures back when I'm at like people's weddings, or if like I'm taking like a selfie with my friends. I don't want to feel like, is this a good angle for my like crooked front teeth? Is this a good angle for like my bottom tooth that's like really messed up, right? Like, I just want to like live my life and like not have to like deal with that. So I've finally gotten to a place in my treatment that I can do that. And I never thought in a million freaking years that that would be the case. And I'm just like really thankful that everything has come this far in the process. And yeah, so I was super happy about that. And I feel like that's a win, even though it's like a beginning of a very long process of straightening my teeth. I took like at the end of like my cavity thing, they like scanned my teeth with this wand for like Invisalign. And they're gonna call me back in a couple of weeks, and I'm so excited. So previously, this is what I do whenever I'm like making a big decision that involves like a lot of money or time or both. I will do a bunch of research. I'm not really a research type of person, like the Amazon research type of person with like looks at the reviews, like I've told you that, but I like to know what I'm getting into as far as like things like that, like braces versus Invisalign, which one's better, you know, should I do this at my age, blah blah blah. Like, I try to see what the internet has said, and it seems like I understand the process, and it seems like I understand the time that it will take, and I understand that it might be just what I'm looking for as far as how the results can be. So I'm not looking for perfection with my teeth. I'm just looking for, I open my mouth and I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking for a noticeable improvement. So I have realistic expectations for what's gonna happen. And I think it'll be like worth the investment as far as the results. So if I come back in a couple of weeks or whatever and I have like a lisp, it might be because I'm wearing my Invisalign, but we'll talk about that if that ends up happening. I've not committed to it financially, and so that's just something that I've been trying to like work towards, and I'm finally excited that I'm at the bottom of that mountain of working towards fixing my teeth instead of working towards just getting rid of like my basic health needs as far as my teeth. So that was great. I went to an ENT doctor to see if I could fix the clearing of my throat. I'm not sure if I really understand how medical doctors work in terms of dealing with insurance and like the protocol in which they need to do things in order for insurance to pick up different procedures and to okay it and to pay for it, and you know, to like process towards your insurance instead of just say, well, we don't work like that, or you know, if you want to do this you can do it, but it's like kind of like all on you financially if you want to go that route. And I'm only learning this because of like the clues in which I'm picking up. They're not actually saying this to me, mind you. They're not explaining this to me in the office. I have a very quick and rushed appointment, and I have very like, I don't get many answers. And so I'm frustrated and I'm confused as to what I need to do in order to get more solutions. And I don't think that this is completely a unique experience for me. I think a lot of people feel like they're gaslit, or they're just literally not listened to, or, you know, they have problems with how like the medical thing is run. And like, I understand that, but like, I can't change the system. I'm not going to change the system. I don't have the power to do that, or the money, or the time, or the influence, or anything like that. And so I'm just trying to work better within the system that exists. And so I'm taking a look at like my experiences, and my experience at the ENT was that it was a rushed appointment. I always feel rushed when I go into these places. Like, I understand you can't spend like 2-3 hours with me listening to all my problems, but like, I feel rushed just as they're listening to me. And like, I'm not sure if they just have so many patients on deck. I'm not sure what the problem is, but I feel like because they're not really in the moment, they're not really listening to me. And I have to actually stop them sometimes. And I have to advocate for myself harder than I think that I should have to when I go to see somebody for a problem. So anyways, when I went in for the problem, they put a camera down my nose and they looked at my nose and they tried to see if my problem was an anatomical problem. Like if there was something with how my nose is that was causing the clearing of my throat. Like if it had like weird drips or something, it would all collect here and, you know, whatever. So they saw that it was anatomically correct and normal, which was good. And so their next plan of action, without doing anything else, was to put me on some sort of medicine for if there was acid in my stomach that would come up and kind of like linger here. And I don't have heartburn. And so that didn't really make too much sense to me, but they did say that if I have a clearing of the throat problem all the time, I just needed to reduce the acid in my stomach and it would get rid of that inflammation or whatever. And so I listened to them. I had tried something when I was in a different part of the country, and I've tried the lower dose of that particular medicine that they were going to put me on, and it didn't have any effect on my problem. And so I, as a patient, need to understand them as a doctor as far as what they do as far as protocol. You do this, you do the exam, you put them on medicine, you see what happens. You do this, you do that, you do this, you escalate to more and more expensive things so that it can look like you've tried all things before you result to spending a ton of insurance money, right? I get that symbiosis of doctors and insurance, and like what they know will be approved and what they know will not be approved, and they have protocol. Like I've determined this by like listening to them explain stuff to me and just, you know, I'm reading between the lines. I'm not sure if this is how it works, but this is preventing me from being fully discouraged when I go there. If I just understand from their point of view that this is how they work in terms of making everything work in a process, then it's not that they're not listening to me, it's that they're trying things in a specific order and they're just not saying. I wish they would communicate that with me, but maybe they are just not listening to me. So I tried to explain to them that this previous medicine didn't work and I was not interested in trying another medicine like this. I'm not interested in the side effects, and I'm not interested in the long-term use of this and then it creating more problems in my body. I went home and I Googled what they decided to prescribe to me, and they wanted to put me on this for 2 months. And the internet kind of said, and I understand the internet can have all sorts of things that they can say that are not true. Like I understand that. But when it comes to like the side effects of drugs, or when it comes to something, I should know the pros and cons of taking it for a while. So some things you should only take for a short amount of time, and that short amount of time is like a week, or like, you know, a couple of days or something, until your thing improves. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to see what the longer term meaning 2 months use of it, what that would do on my body. And so the internet said that you should probably not take this particular drug over a 2 week period, because at that point in time, your body is no longer able to do what it needs to do, and it actually kind of stops working. And that thing in your body, when it stops working, will actually make your root cause worse. And so I'm like, like, what? Like, why do I have to do this trial period of trying to see if this thing that you've escalated me to, like the higher dose drug, works, and you've given it to me for a longer period of time than it is suggested to use this. It's a short-term drug. It's not a long-term solution. So I just didn't fill it. I just didn't fill the prescription. And like, just because they tell you something doesn't mean you have to do it. But like, I'm not purposely not listening just because they're not listening to me. I'm taking what they're saying into account, and I'm just like, what the hell? Like, it's my risk on my body. It's not their body that they're just, you know, giving this to me for like 2 months or whatever, and like hoping for the best, because they don't have any other good solutions, and this is their first course of action, right? So like, I determined that risk of like having my body not like actually work worse in the long term because of their trial and error with me, like, I don't want to accept that risk. They might be willing to accept that risk because it's A, not their body, and B, the risk or whatever they would be willing to accept if it was their body. This is my body. So I have lived in my body for as long as, you know, I have. And so like, I make decisions on it. I'm trying to get outside help, but it's kind of frustrating is what I'm trying to tell you. So I'm trying to tell it in a way that's like, it could be any sort of problem that you're approaching a doctor with. It could be like, there's a way to like speak to like medical professionals to like get them to take you seriously, and there's a way to like assert yourself. And like, I wouldn't think that I would have to assert myself, but I think I do. I think I do have to assert myself, and I think I do have to be like a little bit more forceful, and like not be so gaslit, or not be so misunderstood, or, you know, just be like, I don't want to do this. I think I did communicate that I did want to get some allergy tests. I wanted to do some other sort of testing, and they were like, well, this is our first course of action. You kind of have to do it like this, and then if it doesn't work in 2 months, we'll escalate to other sort of experiments or whatever. They didn't say experiments, but you know what I mean. They'll escalate to other sorts of treatments. And I was like, okay. I did this with my acne treatment too. I went to the dermatologist and I explained to them I did not want to take a systemic drug that interfered with my hormones. My hormones have been messed up. And the main reason I, you know, I'm trying to go this whole route of like having like no birth control, hormonal birth control in my body, is to like just feel better. I think if I got my hormones under control, then I would just feel like a better person, like energy wise and like mood wise, just everything. I'm not in a bad mood, but like I can feel kind of down sometimes when I don't really have reasons for it. And it might be because I have a hormonal imbalance. And it's important to talk about that not everything about why you're sad is because you have life things that are like sad. It's because maybe internally you've got some problems and you just don't have anybody to help you with the solution yet. So that could be a possibility for your mood, and I'm aware of that. So anyways, I tried to not take a systemic pill. Systemic meaning if I swallow this pill, it can affect my body in different parts other than the targeted part. If I swallow this pill, then it's not just gonna affect my acne, it's gonna affect all of my system. And so something interesting happened to me when I was on spironolactone, or however it's called. I was on a 50 milligram dose, and it was going really well as far as taking care of my acne. But it was, it's a diuretic, it's a water pill, and they actually prescribe it for other things other than acne. For acne, it's kind of like a second, it's like not the main intended purpose for why it was created. It's created for, like, you know, helping 2 or 3 other major health concerns, and it just happens to work for acne because it works on like your androgens, the hormones in your body that might produce more testosterone or something. It like helps block certain stuff. And I initially wanted a topical. I asked for tretinoin, and I asked for a topical spironolactone as well. You can get both. They told me to my face that the topical spironolactone versus the pill was basically ineffective, and that I should try the pill. And I did see really great results for my acne. It improved a lot. Like, I think the last time I showed you my acne, it was completely flattened down, and I did not have cystic acne anymore, even on the short time that I'd taken it. But over time, as I took this pill, I noticed that my body was very dehydrated, but also at the same time, it was kind of confusing because I don't think my body does a normal process right now, and something is wrong with it. And instead of being a diuretic, it was bloating me up. So being a diuretic would mean that you're flushed out of all of your water, basically. You have to drink a lot of water on this pill, and you have to worry a lot about being dehydrated, and because it just draws the water out. That's part of what the water pill does, this particular one. And for me, I was waking up where I couldn't even take off my Oura ring. It was so, like, my fingers were so sausagey that I couldn't take off my ring. And my Whoop band was so, like, my arm was so swollen as compared to my Whoop band that it was imprinted very heavily inside of my wrist. Like, when it was uncomfortable. It felt like it was cutting off circulation when I woke up in the morning. And I was just not feeling right. And so, like, I already don't feel right, so I'm not gonna take more things that make it feel more wrong, just so I don't have acne. So I asked my doctor, because I think I'd done some research before, and people were like, you can't just go off of this pill. You have to kind of like wean yourself off of it. And I'd only taken it for a small amount of time. And so I asked my dermatologist, is this normal? And if it's not, can I please stop taking this? And they said, yes, you can stop taking it cold turkey. You don't have to wean off. And I was only taking it for less than a month, but I was experiencing things that I didn't want to experience. And like, I loved having like little to no acne, but I loved fitting into my clothes like a tiny bit better. I liked not feeling like my body was like a sausage in like a casing that was about to explode. Like, it felt like weird, and I knew that this was not a normal side effect. Like, my body must have been doing something that is like, there's some sort of root cause in my body. This was another indicator that there's something wrong here. So I'm like putting all the pieces together, and I'm not a medical doctor. I just know how I feel in my body, and I'm like trying to listen to it, right? So like, I think that's why I'm explaining this to you. It's like, dealing with medical stuff is like so overwhelming. It's so difficult to navigate, and it's so like, it's such a guessing game, and it's such like a mind fuck sometimes, because it's like, do I really have a problem or do I not? Is this all in my head, or is this like for real? So I'm trying to express to you that I'm listening to the symptoms, and I'm listening to how I feel, and this is how I've decided to like navigate it. And I'm trying to express to you that you don't always have to just take whatever solution they give you. You can get an outside perspective. You can get an alternative perspective. You can completely not listen to them, or you can try somebody else and get, you know, go whatever route you want to, but there's effort that has to be made when you involve other people in your health, right? So it's frustrating and it's complicated and it's discouraging, to be honest, because I wish I could just roll up to the doctor's office and they just give me a test and like, oh yeah, you have this. This is how we fix it. This is the path of the least resistance of, you know, the side effects are relatively low, the cost is relatively low, and blah, blah, blah. And here's the amount of time that it should probably take until we see some progress. And this is what progress should look like, right? To be given a plan, not to just be given like, here's a pill that you've already tried and like, good luck for 2 months. And in 2 months, I'll see you again. So for another 2 months, I have to wait to see if I can make any progress on the one symptom that I want to work on. So this is why like my teeth thing was such like, I was super happy that I was already getting to like the bottom of that hurdle of like dealing with straightening my teeth. I'd gotten past where it was just baseline taken care of. Like all of my cavities were taken care of. My oral health was good. Like I've gotten to a part where I can fix and work on aesthetics. It's kind of like elective at this time instead of just kind of medical. So my body feels like it's constantly in like, I'm never gonna get to the extent of the aesthetics part. I'm never gonna get to like the honing in of how to make myself look fit or feel good or blah, 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 blah. The really small tweaks if like I'm constantly below optimal level of running my body. So if I can just get to the bottom of the hill of the next stage, I would be so thankful. So this is kind of like a video about that process of dealing with medical people and like understanding that there's going to be roadblocks, but like to not get super discouraged. The way that my family works is that if there's not a problem, you don't deal with it. There's no such thing as preventative, or there's no such thing as like routine health checks. And then it's like very like, you don't trust medical doctors, you don't trust the systems that they have, and like basically you just kind of deal with it. I'm not really like that. I've dealt with this for a long time, and so I've had to navigate by myself how to get used to working with a medical team and what that's like when it's frustrating. Cause like my family just kind of doesn't even go. So I don't have the experience from my family of being like, well, this is how you kind of navigate this problem if people are gaslighting you. This is how you assert yourself while still maintaining your professionalism with them, right? This is how you try to get more answers, or this is where you could possibly look if this avenue is going wrong. So I think that's why I share it with you, not because I just think that you like are interested in my medical crap. You're probably not. But I think it's kind of complicated for anybody to navigate their own medical crap, and to normalize, you know, dealing with it, I think would be good, because that, you know, that's not super good in my own family. And it would have been helpful if I just had like a little bit of help from anybody who was like, okay, you try this with this person and you see these results, and if you don't get what you want, this is how you could possibly tweak it to getting to where you do want to go. So I don't have those solutions for you yet, but I do see that I need a little bit more of a plan. Like I need to have kind of like a game plan when I go in to talk to these people. I can't just go into the appointment and then just like let them have whatever agenda that they have. I need to kind of be like, please look into these symptoms that are affecting my life, because I'm the only one that cares about them as strongly as I do. It's not really affecting them. they're only going to treat what they can literally see, and they're not going to go searching around detective like for the little things that might actually be wrong until they point them that this is really, really, really wrong. It's not preventative at this point. Like, I've been living with this chronic thing, but please look into it. Like, I don't care where we have to go, but like, please point me in a direction if you're not the person that can help me. So it's just being kind of like that assertive in person with them. And I realized that the way that I was doing it, I would just go to these appointments, I would tell them my symptom, and they would be like, okay. And they run some like basic tests. They'd take my weight and height and tell me that I had good cholesterol. And you know what I mean? Like, it was very like, well, see you again. Like, I was kind of blown away by like going to a physical, and they barely even touched my body. Like, I thought a physical was like a physical. Like, it was just like talking to me if I had like, you know, certain problems, and then it like the only touching was like listening to my heart and like looking at my nose and like looking in my ear. Like, that's not a physical to me. A physical would be like, do you have moles that are precancerous? Like, what do your, you know, what's your skin rashing looking like? What is your acne? How has it changed? Like, you know, it's like looking at like your whole body. But it basically was just like, here's the 5 basic things they're looking for, and they call that a physical. And I'm like, clearly I'm overweight. And they were just like, okay, here's your weight. They didn't say like, what do you eat? What, like, I was very confused on the role that they play, until I learned that it's not until you have a massive problem can they really do something kind of immediate like that. There's no such thing as like preventative. And I might be wrong, but that's how I perceive it. Like, if I have a cut, they can help me, they can see it. But if I have this nebulous thing that's just like, well, I have chronic, you know, fatigue, and I don't feel like I have a good hormonal balance because look at my skin, right? Like, I have to go to like 4 different doctors. It's not like one doctor can see how I am. It's like difficult to manage, but like, I can manage it. I just have to learn how to a strategy when talking to these people. So it was frustrating for me to like go to a specialist and basically get nowhere. It wasn't expensive for me to go to the specialist, thank God, but like, it was still time, and they had to put a camera down my nose, which was uncomfortable. Like, you know, it was like all those things that I didn't really get anywhere with that. And it didn't make me feel good about my developments in this pillar of health that I'm involving other people with. So I had the alternative naturopath doctor visit. And for the first time, I felt really heard, but I also felt like it was completely out of scope of what I could afford. So she listened to all of my symptoms. She saw me as a person, and she was like very attentive. And then she wanted to give me this plan that lasted about 6 months, 4 to 6 months. And this plan was almost $10,000. And I was like, there's just no way, lady. There's literally no way. So I have to go back to doing this on my own with my insurance that is going to take what I say and give me to specialists instead of like one doctor that could possibly do this with me. Like, it just felt better with one doctor, but like, it was so unaffordable that I was just like, how the hell does anybody feel better ever? Right? Like, I feel like I'm a very like knowledgeable person in how to do things and how to get to where I want to go. And if I'm stumped, imagine the people in my family, they have no idea how to even start this process of just feeling good if you don't feel good, right? To go to like the right people. And so like, I thought I was at the right person, and it's like, well, I might have been at the right person, but it's like, I don't have those resources in order to do this. I don't know if the internet made me feel like a naturopath was very like easy access and just super affordable and like a very great alternative to like, you know, medicine. And so I had no idea that it was this expensive. I do understand that there was a reason why she had it very expensive, because she had like this whole plan, and it involved education, and it involved tests, and it involved, like, it was a very packaged deal. It was not a la carte services that you could just pay for and just take your results from those services. She recommended that I go to somebody that was an ND, a naturopath doctor or whatever, and if I liked the way that she listened to me, to get that service and to pay for it on a case-by-case basis. And I was like, I should be able to get listened to by any doctor. Like, I shouldn't just have to go to a naturopath doctor to be listened to. Like, I understood what she was saying. Like, it would be more likely that I would be listened to and heard, because that's kind of like what they do. They listen to you as a whole. But I'm just like, I tried to do some research after my appointment with her. That was super disappointing. I was like, I can't afford this, of the way that she does it or whatever. And just to find another naturopath doctor in my particular state, it was complicated. So I was running into naturopaths that it costs $300 or $400 just to have the initial appointment. That's how much this one was. It was like $288 or something, to just have her tell me that her services were $7,000, $7,300 for what she was trying to do for me. I was like, I can't just go to like a whole bunch of doctors and pay them to tell me that they're too expensive for me. It's not my fault that they don't have their information like that on their website, just very out in the open. Like, I don't know how to find this doctor that can help me, that's kind of affordable, that can listen. Like, it's a frustrating process. And so I'm just like, I have to go back to the drawing board, and I have to work with the people that will work with my insurance, because money doesn't grow on trees, people. Like, I can't just like make money out of nowhere just because I feel bad. Like, it's like, you know, it's a frustrating thing. And so that is what I worked on this week. I worked on taking my wins when I could with like my dentist stuff, but I worked on pushing forward with the other things that I wanted to push forward on. But then I found some roadblocks and some walls, and I was glad that I didn't end up taking the medication from the ENT doctor. Like, I don't want to, and that's not part of what I think I should be doing. I want to have a root cause, and I was glad that I listened to my own mind instead of like what their next protocol would be. But it's like, I understand now from those things that I did by pushing forward and reaching the roadblocks. If I hadn't pushed forward, I would not have reached those roadblocks and come to the conclusion that I need to move forward with a game plan when I see these doctors. I think I can get help from the people that are within my insurance network to help me. It's just gonna take a little bit more time than had I just plopped down a bunch of money to this naturopath doctor and she put me on this plan of whatever. She wanted to do some detox, and then after the detox she wanted to do a series of tests, and based upon those tests we could tweak things or whatever. But a lot of it was like education, and a lot of it was mentoring. It was very hand-holdy, like what she could provide. And I felt like the fluff of her program was like not the fluff, that's kind of like a bad way to say it, but like the value in what she provided is like, I didn't need that particular like thing. I don't need to be handheld, and I don't need a lot of education. I just need a direction that's helpful. Like, I can find my own direction in self-diagnosing whatever problem, or trial and error my own problems, but that takes, like, I could be hurting and not helping. I'd rather have some tests that say, you're deficient in this. This is what you do to not have a deficiency and to get into better health with that. Or blah, blah, blah. Like, you have an autoimmune disease. You have this, you have that. Like, I'd rather have answers and a direction that's like backed with something that is scientific. Not that she wasn't scientific, but I like, versus my own trial and error where I don't have that much science. That's why I wear this, and that's why I wear this, right? So I try to be as like proactive as possible from what I can do for myself, but there's only so much that I myself as a non-medical person can do, and like it's tiring, right? It's super tiring. So if you're like just tired listening to this, like I totally get it, but I feel like it's important. Glassy eye, and it's like high stress for you because you can't really escape, because you probably have some medical problems too that you're trying to navigate. But I'm trying to make content of how to help you do things that are kind of hard that I'm trying to do. And this is really hard for me. It's like a pillar that I can't crack by myself, right? Like I need to interact with the outside world, and for the first time, because I'm doing this and I'm explaining this to somebody, I'm trying to like help you find your own solutions if this is possibly something that you're trying to deal with as well. So I did just barely talk with, this is very exciting for me. I did just barely talk with, before I started filming, a research assistant at one of the top universities that's in my area. It's really exciting because it's like very well-renowned university, and they're doing a research study on my particular problem, and they were looking for participants. So when I was in the ENT doctor, I saw a flyer. So I wanted to mention this because it's like, well, the reason for me being at the ENT doctor that day was not dealt with in a way that I found like it equaled a good outcome for me. I found it kind of a waste of time. I signed up for that. I contacted the research assistant that like left their email on that flyer, and they asked to be a participant for this. And it's a post-COVID loss of smell and taste, and to try to see if a certain drug that they were testing could help with that. And they have two different groups. It's a double-blind study. And she explained to me that she's going to mail me this little test to see if I actually do have enough significant smell and taste loss to be a participant. So I don't know if I'm a participant yet, but like I just feel like that was worth going to the doctors. It was worth that effort that I went there, and I tried to see if I could get some help. But in a roundabout way, I can try to see if I can get some help with my long-term problem of my sense of taste and smell being lost since 2020. So I think that's great, and I was so excited. I also joined a study on how stress affects your body and your blood pressure. And so the study right now that I'm doing is with Whoop, and I'm on week 2 of the study, and I'm super excited to be participating in anything. And the benefit of participating in the Whoop study is that I could possibly get some more insights and body stats on how my body particularly deals with stress. And I like to have as much information as possible so that I can tweak things and I can just feel better and be a working person that has a lot of stamina and who can complete my goals. It's like no good if I have all these like, you know, far-fetched goals if I can't even, you know, do half of the things I need to do in order to like get them going, right? Like I need to take care of my body so that my body can just function. So I think that that's why I tried to explain as much as possible to you today about what I was doing. Even though it's boring, I know that. I'm sorry if it's boring, but I still found it really important to kind of go over, this is how I'm navigating my stuff. I'm kind of doing some things wrong, but I'm also trying to move forward, not doing them wrong again. Like I need to go to these new doctors or whomever I see, and I need to like assert myself, and I need to not be scared that they're just going to say, no, you can't do that. I need to like see how I can get the answers to my problems. And it's up to me to push that. It's not up to them to be detectives. It's up to me to be like, please help me. I really need you to take me seriously. And it's up to me to like, if I don't feel heard, then try to feel heard next time. If I leave disappointed, try to work on that next time when I'm interacting with them. Like, I thought that was a good thing, that when I saw that my body was not reacting well to the dermatology pills or whatever, the spironolactone for my acne, that I contacted them. I didn't just wait until my next appointment. I contacted them and I was like, hey, this is what's going on. You know, can I stop? Like, part of being an independent thinker and part of being like a person that like typically feels like I have a lot of control over myself is that I'm used to making these choices. Like, I have a very big tendency, yes, to just want to go to a doctor and have them develop a plan for me, and me just kind of like take the wheel, Jesus, right? Like, please just make all the decisions for me. Like, it's not like that. Like, your life is not passive like that. And while they're not there to make your life worse, like, they don't live your life, and they don't, you know, they don't know how you experience it. And so it's up to you to relay that to them. Like, this isn't working for this reason. Can we please do something else? Like, it's up to you to tweak it. Like, it's up to them to come to you with an expert idea of what might work for you. So I'm trying not to demonize them, and I'm trying not to be frustrated with them, and I'm trying to just be like, and have an open mind that I can still reach my solution. It might just take a lot longer, the way that this path shows me that I have to take it, than had I taken the other expensive path or whatever. That seemed very like, it seemed very good for me as far as it being tailored to me and my needs. I need to get to a point with that with like my medical team, and I need to like not go broke in between that time, right? I need to like have it work, the system that I have with the resources that I have. I need to work within that. Anyways, that was what I worked on this week, and I felt like I did a lot, but I also didn't really get that far with things, but I also learned what didn't work. So everything is about eliminating what doesn't work, moving forward with what could, and to just kind of put steps forward to making progress. And I'm not trying to say that like I went home after the naturopath and I was just super ecstatic and like, you know, back to the drawing board kind of mentality. I was crushed. I was disappointed, and I let myself be disappointed, and I let myself be defeated for like a good day, I think, until like the next morning or whatever. And I was pissed, and I felt like it was such a waste of time. But if I reorganized my thoughts about it, I learned that this was not the path. I learned that this was not an alternative option because it's too unaffordable. So it's not an option. Stop thinking about it, and to look at what options I had and how to work within that, and how to manipulate that system that I have going for me, and to only like to still have hope for things. And I think when it comes to medical stuff, or at least when it comes to mental stuff, it's very important to have hope, and it's very important to not be super bitter. So while I don't have a lot of experience, I do have like mind clarity that I can do things differently in order to reach the results that I want. So I thank you for watching me and coming along with me on my little journey of how to be congruent in these areas of my life. I appreciate that. So thank you for listening. And I will see you guys next Friday.